All right. Michael Haddix has joined us for 5 Qs. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you for having me, Andy. I appreciate it.
All right. They're going to start off easy and then ideally they'll get harder
Okay.
for you. If you don't know, Michael is the son of Michael Haddix Sr., who was a great football player. First round pick in '83 draft, Elway
Number
Marino.
8 overall.
But Michael is setting his own path. Siena Basketball Hall of Fame,
Yep.
correct?
Right.
And then could have played football, but you decided to go to grad school or Goldman next.
Grad school. Went to Columbia for business school, but I also was probably a little bit too soft to be a football player, which I can admit
Okay.
to.
I love it. I love it. All right. So we'll get into what Scout is and what you're doing now at the back end. All right. You live in upstate New York, so
Upstate,
I
right
think
behind
you're
Siena.
qualified to answer this question.
Okay.
Matzo ball soup or lox on a bagel?
What time of the day is it, and what season is it in?
It's morning and there's snow on the ground in Albany.
We're doing lox and bagels.
Okay. Okay. MJ or LeBron?
Oh man. Uh, I'd probably say MJ only because when I was younger, like you root against MJ because I wanted Ewing to get one, I wanted Reggie Miller to get one, I wanted Barkley to get one, and just nobody could get one.
I read a story recently, and I didn't know this, and I play golf with guys like MJ and MJ. And it's definitely MJ in my book because of this story. But did you know when he came back and went to the Wizards, do you know that he donated his entire salary to September 11th families
That I
for
did not
three
know.
years? Incredible.
Man, I did not know that.
Incredible. Yeah.
Interesting.
I like LeBron. I don't see LeBron doing that.
I don't know. I have no comment on that, but I will say I didn't know that about MJ.
Okay. Who's been your favorite mentor in business?
Oh, that's a good question. I would probably say a guy by the name of George Raveling, who they're making a movie about. He had a book just come out. He's in the Air documentary. He was one of the first black Division One head coaches. Was coached at USC in Iowa, Villanova. He was at Nike for a long time, and he is sort of the godfather of a lot of these basketball guys. So I think what he's taught me is business is a lot like life. I think a lot of times we think that there's just like you're nice outside of the boardroom, and then in the boardroom you're a different person. But a lot of those things he said kind of carry over and ring true. But he phrases it in a way where you think he's talking about like your relationships and friends, but it is applicable. I mean, he always say this one thing that he says, every time you do a deal, he's like, it's always like I get what's in it for you, but what's in it for me, right? So you have to think about kind of both sides of the table. So he is probably one of my best, one of the best, I think, in general, kind of mentors that equates sort of life and business and makes it really sort of connects them both.
Excellent. Okay, a couple more questions. What we got you? We're both in the NIL space. Current events. What do you think Trump and Saban and so forth are going to do? And should we be worried about revenue share?
Um, I think everybody's trying to figure out a plan to basically keep college athletics as I mean, I think the money's there. Like everybody gets. I think people can admit that players should make a little bit of money, but I think people are trying to figure out how you keep this idea of like your favorite player is a freshman, then he's a sophomore, or he's a sophomore. They graduate. Senior night means something, right? You have a connectivity
Right.
to the local area because you've been there for a long time. So I think that is what they're trying to solve for. I think it's going to be. It's just going to take a while. So I think if you're worried about it today, I wouldn't worry about it. I think we'll as anything in politics, right? It takes a while. So I think we got a couple years before we see some massive changes. So I'm not worried about it from a revenue share standpoint. And what I think is, regardless of all the rules, I think you're still gonna have a bunch of 19-year-olds making more money than they've ever made before that need some help. So I think kind of all the noise, that part never changes.
Excellent. Okay, last question. We'll have you on again. TikTok. You're a TikTok star.
That I am.
How many views is that video
I
up
think
to?
we're
When
up
we
to
talk
10
about that
million
video,
views on my TikTok, my viral explaining the jock tax to some basketball players at Loyola Marymount University in California.
10 million views, incredible.
Well, I give
That is Scout. By the way, he is founder of Scout that we are heavily involved in. Tell the world, the 5 people watching this, what Scout
Yeah,
is.
so we are a fintech platform that is building infrastructure for college athletic programs. So think if you have to pay, schools are paying $20.5 million from the school directly to the players. How do they have the infrastructure to do that, to monitor it, to make sure it's compliant, it's safe, and it's as flexible as sort of the new rules of NIL, right? Is that players transferring in the portal? Is it bonuses? Is it fines? Is it accelerators? All those pieces. And then we are also a financial support system for every single athlete. So think a digital platform for players to understand taxes, file taxes, get an LLC, a bookkeep, invest, save, and get 24/7 support. Be able to text an app before you're going to buy a car, before you're making your first investment, or when you are having a hard conversation with mom about money and family. You have a support system on your hip. So that is what Scout is, and we are the only ones solving this at a macro and a micro level, with a true passion for really helping everybody involved reach another level.
Bonus question,
Okay.
since we're talking about Scout. You've recently closed a lot of schools. These are D1 power schools.
Yep.
Which university has been the hardest sell thus far?
Ooh, that's a good one. So the hardest sell, I think it's probably. I'm not going to call any. I'll tell you what conference they're in. So, and it's a big sort of brand name from the SEC, and I think it's tough to sell somebody who's a household name, right? Because they've heard it all, and they want to know, what you can do for them also. So I think making sure you have aligned interests, right? Everybody in this world is selling, everybody's pitching, everybody's an NIL expert. So I think when you're selling some of those big household names, you got to make sure it doesn't just benefit you as a company, because they know once that press release comes out, all of a sudden you're legit, right? People look at you. We know we're legit, but people look at you, even have some more credibility. So you got to figure out how you solve it and make them look really good by working with you as well. So I think that's a big lesson, and something that we built our product around, is like we got to make, and not just the school look good, but that player development person, that ops person who doesn't get a lot of love and a lot of shine, that's doing all the dirty work. How do you make everybody look good? So then when that coach looks and says, "Hey man, you solved something for me," then that person gets promoted, and in 5 or 10 years, when that person's the new head coach of a new school, right? You've helped them ramp up. So that's what we try to do.
Awesome. Last bonus question. I saw the Knicks play last
Right.
night. Are they going to win it all?
Yeah. I grew up in South Jersey, outside of Philly. I love Villanova. I wasn't good enough to play there, but I love it. So Josh Hart, who I know pretty well, and you got Jalen Brunson and Bridges and those guys, right? So and then they got my guy, Leon Rose, another South Jersey guy in the front office. They got my guy William Wesley, Uncle Wes, working there too. So they got a lot of South Jersey, Philly connections there. So we're rooting for those guys. So yeah, I think they got a shot, man. I think they're gonna get to the finals, and then I think they're gonna end up, going up against the Timberwolves.
Edwards is a beast, man. He's a
You
beast.
got your Atlanta ties. I got my South Jersey,
Yeah,
Philly
he's
tie.
a
So
beast. I like the
yeah,
Knicks. I like the Knicks.
we'll go to a game.